2 administrations, 1 set of numbers. Forget the speeches, forget the stock market victory laps. Forget which politician tells you the economy is the greatest thing anybody has ever seen. Let's put the last 18 months of the American economy up front, and let the numbers talk. Because this chart crosses 2 administrations. Joe Biden's administration ended January 20, 2025. Donald Trump's administration began January 20, 2025. So who inherited what? What happened after Trump took office? And 18 months later, is the economy actually stronger? Let's check the receipts. Whose economy was it? Start with the handoff. Trump didn't walk into an economy frozen in time. He inherited an economy already moving, with inflation, interest rates, employment, consumer spending and federal policies already in motion. And that's important because presidents don't hit a giant economic reset button on Inauguration Day. Businesses don't rewrite investment plans overnight. Consumers don't suddenly get new grocery prices at noon on January 20th. Federal Reserve policy doesn't belong to the president. And tariffs, taxes, spending cuts and regulatory changes can take months, or longer, to work through the economy. So when Trump took office, some of what happened next still reflected conditions and decisions that existed before him. But here's the other side of that receipt. The longer Trump remained president, the harder it became to blame every economic result on Joe Biden. Trump campaigned on the economy. He promised lower prices. He promised prosperity. And once you're sitting behind the Resolute desk, eventually, the economy becomes yours. Trump can't blame Biden forever. What actually happened? Now look at the GDP line. During Trump's first quarter back in office, real GDP contracted at a 0.6% annualized rate. Then came the rebound. Q2 2025, plus 3.8%. Q3, plus 4.4%. That's strong growth. If we're checking receipts, Trump gets that receipt too. But then, the engine lost speed. Real GDP growth dropped to just 0.5% in Q4 2025. Then, Q1 2026, 2.1%. And the latest estimate for Q2 2026, 1.5%. So what happened? The economy didn't collapse, but it didn't travel in a straight line towards some historic economic boom either. It contracted, it surged, it slowed dramatically, it recovered, and then it slowed again. That's not politics, that's the chart. Why does this matter? Because GDP isn't your grocery receipt. GDP isn't your rent. GDP isn't your electric bill. And the Dow Jones isn't the balance sitting in your checking account. That's where Washington can lose the plot. An administration can point toward economic growth or a booming stock market, while a family points toward the checkout screen and says, then why doesn't it feel like I'm winning? Your own uploaded material makes exactly that affordability argument. Americans experience the economy through groceries, rent, healthcare and everyday expenses, not simply through stock market indices. And that's why the political question heading toward the 2026 midterms isn't simply, did GDP grow? It's, did your life get more affordable? Trump inherited the economy in January 2025. He has now had more than a year and a half to influence it. That doesn't mean everything good belongs to Trump. And it doesn't mean everything bad belongs to Biden. Economic policy doesn't work that way. But eventually every president reaches the same uncomfortable moment. You can't keep taking credit for everything that goes up, while blaming the last guy for everything that goes down. The verdict? 18 months, 2 administrations, 1 economy, and 6 quarters of receipts. So don't ask Donald Trump whether the economy is great. Don't ask Joe Biden. Look at the numbers, then look at your own wallet. Look at the numbers, then look at your own wallet. Look at the numbers, then look at your own wallet. And decide for yourself. Subscribe, share, comment below, and tell me, is the economy working better for you than it was 18 months ago? Because around here, we don't grade presidents by applause.